Okay, so this week, we're going deep on those stabbings in Manhattan.
Yeah, those attacks.
2 people, dead another in critical condition.
Right. It's just awful.
And we've got the suspect in custody. But it's the why that's really got me, uh, trying to understand what could lead to something like this.
Well, and that's what's so disturbing about this case, right? I mean, it seems totally random.
Totally.
No connection between the victims.
Yeah, you're looking at the reports and thinking there's got to be something.
Exactly. You look for a pattern, some motive, and there's just nothing.
Right, like the first attack, 8:30 in the morning, West 19th Street, a construction worker just starting his day.
Dang.
And then boom, just a couple hours later, we're across town on the East River, a man out fishing.
And he's gone just like that.
It's like the suspect was on this terrible route across Manhattan.
Yeah, and it didn't end there, right? We had that attack near the UN headquarters later that morning.
Right, thankfully that woman survived.
Yeah, a cab driver saw the whole thing, flagged down the police.
Wow, so if it wasn't for that cab driver,
You know.
yeah, it's like something out of a nightmare. And even with the suspect in custody, 51 years old, found with bloody clothes and 2 kitchen knives.
2 kitchen knives.
Yeah, just brutal.
Awful. And the police keep saying the same thing. No arguments, no robbery, just these vicious attacks.
So we're left with this huge question mark hanging over the whole thing.
But why?
Exactly. And of course, Mayor Adams is pointing to problems with the criminal justice system.
Right. We know the suspect had been in trouble with the law recently.
Yeah, a sentence just a few months ago and then a grand larceny arrest last month.
But does that explain this kind of brutality? I mean,
It's the question everyone's asking, and it plays into all those anxieties people have about crime in the city.
absolutely.
You know, killings are down 14% from last year, which is good,
Yeah, that's a positive trend.
but serious assaults are up 12%. So it's like, are things really getting better?
Right. It doesn't feel that way when something like this happens.
Exactly. And this isn't the first time New York's had to deal with this kind of seemingly random violence.
Yeah, you think about that fatal stabbing at the Coney Island subway station.
Right. And then all those attacks on the subway lines back in 2021.
It's like, yeah, crime might be down overall, but
But it's still there and it's terrifying.
yeah, these incidents really get to you, even if they are isolated.
They make you feel vulnerable.
Exactly.
And you can't help but think about those Chinatown killings back in 2019.
Yeah, where those homeless folks were targeted.
It all comes back to that same question. Why?
It's the million-dollar question.
You mentioned some psychological and sociological ideas about how to understand this kind of violence.
Yeah, there are a few different ways to think about it. I mean, one is this thing called strain theory.
Strain theory, okay.
Yeah, basically it says that people under a ton of stress, economics, social, personal, whatever it might be, they just snap.
So they lash out.
Exactly.
Huh?
Then there's this other theory called social disorganization theory, which is more about the environment.
Okay, so like if the neighborhood is kind of falling apart.
Exactly. That lack of structure, those missing norms, it can lead to more crime.
And of course, you can't rule out mental illness.
Right. That's a huge factor.
But in this case, we don't really know anything about this guy's mental state, do we?
Not yet, no.
No.
I mean, we know about his recent run-ins with the law, but his background, his mental health history.
It's all a mystery.
Yeah, so it's hard to apply any of these theories definitively.
Right, it's all speculation at this point.
Exactly. But I think what these theories do is they give us a way to start thinking about the bigger picture.
So it's not just about this one guy.
Right. It's about trying to understand the forces that might lead someone to this point.
Okay, so if we zoom out, what does all this say about the city, about us? These attacks happened in broad daylight in some of the busiest parts of Manhattan.
It's scary. It really makes you think
Sure.
about all those invisible struggles people are dealing with every day, right?
Yeah, the things we don't see.
And how we can do a better job as a society of helping people before they reach this breaking point.
Maybe that's the takeaway here.
Mm.
We may never know exactly what caused these attacks, but maybe by trying to understand, we become more aware, more sensitive to what other people are going through.
It's such a complex issue. There are no easy answers, but
But it's a start.
absolutely a starting point for a really important conversation.
And that's where we leave it this week. Thanks for listening, everyone, and stay safe out there.
Be well, everybody.